Hey, Sam here, Really Love Guitars. In this video, fairly brief video, I'm going to be beginning the process of upcycling this Encore Blaster neck to become the new neck for this custom built Stratocaster, which I'm making for Mark. So we have the pickup routes here, we have the jack route, we have the belly carve, we've got the forearm slope, we've got the neck pocket and the shape and the rounded edges. Everything's in good shape, going well, and this donor neck fits beautifully well as well. What I'm going to do with it is I'm going to do a fair bit of alteration to it. Now you can see that it sticks out quite a long way, and I'm going to make some alterations. I'm going to fill these holes in first, and I'm going to then drill and show you how I fix the neck with neck bolts, or hex bolts I should say, and that's the way I like to fit these necks to the bodies. In this case we've got some really groovy black hex bolts, dome shaped hex bolts that I'm going to use. So I'm going to try and keep this reasonably short. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these original holes, and to do that I'm going to drill 6mm holes up here, so just hang fire while I do this. That's how far I went. Let's just do a little check. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right depth for these things, so hold on. We need approximately I would say 15 would be a safe depth to drill these. In that case I'll put a little bit of tape on here at 15 mils. I'll try to get most things ready for this, but obviously this bit I forgot. So let's just roughly mark up 15mm on this bit. This is my this is a metal HSS drill. I'm just using it to dig out a hole to fill, because we're not going to use these old holes. So let's just get that running again. So this is basically filling in the old holes face downwards. Right, I'm going to put this out of the way for a minute safely. We won't need that for a second. So the first step of this is to get some glue and get my pre-ready bits of dowel that are going to do the filling part, and this is a fairly straightforward process. So we'll get some glue up here. We'll need a bit of this again later. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting the old, it's not very good angle, let's get you a further downwards angle, there we go. Get the glue, and we'll get it in the holes as much as we can. What I've done on these dowels is I've cut them for a reasonably short length. I've given them a little bevel on the end so they go in the holes neatly, but also I've given them a score down the side so that any excess glue can squirt back out the hole. Otherwise it can create a vacuum, and you end up pressing in against a vacuum. So I've got glue into the hole, and then I'm going to also just give the piece that I'm going to hammer in an extra bit of glue on the side, and then I'm going to get my little fretting hammer and tap that down to the finish. Now these great big stilts can stick up here and stay there while the whole thing sets. And actually one nice thing about when you fill this in, you don't really have to wait all that long. the thing will carry on drying overnight, or however, wherever you leave, you know, however long you leave it. But once it's in and in fairly tightly, you can process it if you like. That's a way of looking at it. So I'll kind of move it along with a bit of paper towel to clean it up. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to fill these holes, basically level them out, and then we're going to use the body to drill through the body, but we'll mark up some new start points on here, and we're going to have these bolts going into threaded inserts that are going to sit in the heel, and that's going to give it some real rugged, solid strength, and it's going to make it feel much more robust than your typical Strat neck. Now, the other thing about this, I'm going to have to move this out of the way a minute. Hold on. Come on, lock onto there, thank you. The thing about this, the hex bolts, is one thing they don't do very well is they don't allow, they don't encourage sort of slacking off the screws, moving the neck in the relation to the body, and then locking them down again. So you have to get it right first time. But what I do in this build is I put the neck in really solid, and then I position the bridge right spot on in relation to the neck, so we don't have any problem that way. So there we are, bit of dowel removed, and again sort of stay out of the way so you don't slice your own hands off. Okay, so those bits can go away, come on, hoover them up later. So a bit of clean up there, and then you get your nice new blade. Just gently clamp the neck down for a minute, and then with your new blade you can very carefully scrape back to a flat surface. Now we can also sand this back if we need to at a later date, as we're getting it ready to go onto or to be part of the new guitar. But it's a pretty efficient way of doing it. This is relatively soft wood. It's difficult to find really good hardwood dowel, so this is some sort of pine dowel, but it's really just to bulk the previous holes out and close them up. So you can see that's almost perfect. A little bit on that, stay put, a little bit more on this one, but we're almost there. And I'm bending it upwards slightly so that I just cut at this central part of the blade and not all the way across. I don't want to scuff up too much of the heel. I want it to be flat, and of course that's nice and smooth now. So there's my neck ready. We've got something else to do with this in a minute, which I'll do after I've done the other part. We're going to pull the frets on this. I'm just going to hang this out of the way for a minute. Now the fun part is we're going to get the those things, the body, and we're going to get a starter. Now I'm going to use this thing here to create a what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to create a hole in here, a starter hole that's big enough for this, but I have a feeling this won't work with those, so I may need a bigger drill bit. So let's try this with a little piece of scrap wood first. And the idea is, all we want is to see whether this fits in there. Well, it does, and it's absolutely snug, so that will do the job perfectly well for me. I thought it worked. I used it before. Now this is the fun part. So what we're going to do is we're going to decide how far we want to sink these into. Now currently that's probably a bit too far. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if they go in all the way up to there, then they're just countersunk, but they've got plenty to grip on going through here. There's no shortage of wood. This is going to we're going to come forward at the edge here, so the ones on the back probably end up looking deeper than the ones on the front, but that's not too bad. So we start with the positions we want, plenty of space. One of the big things I've had to watch out for is if you place these in got to remember that you're going into the heel on the other side. So the heel is maple, and if you stress that too much, i.e. if you place one of these too close to the edge here or the edge there, it will split. So what I've tried to do is to end up with these. They're fairly close together, but they provide a fairly robust cluster of bits to grip, and they're far enough away from the edge so that you can load them with quite tight. You can put those threaded inserts in quite tightly, and they won't split the thing. We're on 10 minutes, so I only want to be about 20 on this. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this a little bit shallower. I don't want to use all the way down. I want to go flush with the top to begin with. So I'll just mark it off and then come around again. So that's my guide. Now this will scuff off when it gets into the wood if I hit the top of it. But for now I'm just going to take it down to this level. And then fling the leftovers, and then I'm going to have a look and see. That's a nice fit, but it's dead flush with the top. That's absolutely right for me. And then the next one. Same again. Check it, we want it to be flush, that's good. Again. Lovely. And then this one slightly off. So they're closer together because I'm going around a corner here. I'm going to make this a soft corner on this guitar. So it's much nicer to play than the typical. It's only a little bit different, but it'll be much softer to play than the typical Strat. Yeah, the typical Strat. So now what I need to do is I need to get these through, not at a 9mm hole through here. This one I found in the past can be tricky-ish, but what we can do probably to get this started, so we know we're dead on the centre to guide the bit, is to use, if I can find it, be with you, don't waste time, can't afford to waste time. I'm not sure which size I need, so I'm getting all three. So what we can use is this thing here, and we need to go to actually 9, but I can go to 8. It's the third one down. So we want to use this to center and enlarge that hole. And that keeps the hole centered, and then we can put it on the pillar drill. And go all the way through it. Now I don't have a 9 in this setup here, so I can just we'll go through to 8, and then we'll see how much. We could even possibly go to 10 and then come back in, because what we want when we drill through with this 9, we want a hole that's a millimetre bigger than that, so it's not holding them tightly in place. That can be loose, this section. So okay, that's still going to stretch us a little bit. Let's see what we got here. We've got 8s, 10s. Do we have a 9 in here? No, of course not. Alright. If we go to 10, we'll see. Let's have a look. 10. 10 is the next one up. Ten is, which one? I keep seeing it. We only go up to 12, so it's the second one. to get that into the hole, but it's a little bit short, so I think I'm going to need to go down just into the 10 to make this work. There we go. Just into the 10. Just into the 10. And just into the 10. So when I go on the drill here, we should be able to just at the outset lower that, and we'll get it dead bang on the centaur. So what we'll do, I guess it's taking as long as it takes. I was hoping it would be short, but what I call short videos is probably less important about the duration of the thing, more that it's focused on a single thing. That's what I'm aiming for. So I guess it takes the time it takes, and it's more important that it's kind of one set of things at once for anyone who's interested. But it's based mainly around what I'm doing at the time, which has to be done. So I'm just going to drop this down to accommodate the guitar, plus a bit of foam as a base, keep the wood off things. Now, it doesn't naturally sit perfectly well under there, but not too far off. Can't see very well from here, but I'm going to start this going and go all the way through. See very well, so that guide hole is useful. Difficult to get through without sometimes it splintering a little bit, but hopefully we can sort that out. Stay up there, wire. Not the best arrangement. We got a little bit of splinter, but not a huge amount, which is okay. It won't mess up the whole thing. So there's my holes, reflecting the shape of the guitar that I'm going to bandsaw off, but not yet. So there we go. These go in, and they will go into this. They will sink into that timber quite nicely. Take a little bit of softening it up to go in. Right, now the fun part. Well, it's all fun. Here we get the neck, and we basically get it into its snuggest position. And for this, it's going to be a little bit of a holding it manually thing going on here. And we just need, what I'm going to use here, we had a 9mm, so I'm going to use an 8mm just to go through and make the mark on here. And this is going to give me the kind of the guideline for my for the threaded insert. So I want it snug up against that and snug into the base of the thing. So there we are. There we are. There we are. And there we are. Ta-da! The 4 new holes. Put this back out of the way. So Now we have, the idea of this is we need to get a 12mm drill into this. Now it would be great to be able to mark them without, I suppose without, you know, this drill works really well when you're sticking it into a piece of flat wood. Putting a dent in this like this kind of makes it hard to center this drill, but I'm going to try and do it. We may still just have enough depth of spike to get this dead in the middle. So what I'd aim to do is put a marker or put a guide hole in there just by tapping it in, and then I can drop this point into it, and we should go down sort of central to the whole thing. That's the idea. And then we're going to get the 12-inch drill bit all the way through to about 15 mils, 16 mils, something like that. And then that's going to be the hole ready for these, which will go in with a little bit of glue, and then they'll become the solid anchor. So that's quite cool. We're missing the original holes completely on this arrangement. So first thing we do is change out the drill bit again. We'll go for 12, as I say this time. 12, the flanges of, or the thread sticking out on the side of those threaded inserts comes to about 13.5 mils in the end. So a 12 mil hole allows quite a lot of that stuff to go into the wood. There's quite a lot of bite. The glue probably isn't even necessary, but I like to use it just in case. So now what I'm aiming to do is to get this started right on the black dot in the little cavity in the crater, if I can. So we get right on target. This is critical. If we get this on target, we get a good fit between the neck and the other thing. What's the neck and the other thing? Neck and the heel. Okay, that feels pretty good. Woo. Get back up there. Right, now we're in a good place. We have our four overkill, our four very neatly drilled holes, missing the original wood and also completely missing the truss rod as well. So I'm going to get a solid grip but not get tangled up in anything. So get some more wood glue out, and I'm going to get my pile driver hex key, which is going to do the heavy work. Now we're getting untidy here, so it's soon going to be time to clean up. First of all, we get the glue out and we slaver it about a bit in all the holes. Although, as you can see now, the other bits are just going to dry on their own time. There's no, we don't need to disturb those inserts any further, the dowels. And one of them will show probably by the time we've rounded off, possibly when we've rounded off the heel a little bit, but it's only a small thing. It doesn't affect how it plays and feels. Okay, so I've now Right, I've got all 4 of them. Now here's the fun bit. We get the insert on the end of this chunky hex key thing, and we put a bit more glue on it for good measure, and we get it, as you can see, we get it placed on there. And this is a tricky part because we want to get this thing to go in nice and straight, and it's not easy to get that. I found ways of doing it before, possibly where you stack a bolt with some of these and use that as the vertical thing to turn it in, because you get a better look at it. But once you've sort of got it biting, then you can work it in. Now it's taking quite a nice chunk, a nice bite in the what do you call that stuff, maple, and it's winding its way in. And I bought I've used the type here that don't have a lip on them or a flange at the top, because they're really no good, and that's pretty good. So it isn't, it makes, as it presses the wood in, oh yeah, we did touch them, look, we just snipped them there. It lifts, kind of distorts the wood a little bit because they are in really smooth, but we'll sand this back afterwards, so it's not a major deal. I'm cautious about these two, but I'm hoping that there's not going to be any splitting that goes on there. So let's get that one in the back here first. So this is a ball-ended hex key, so I have to be sort of a bit freehand when I get this thing to bite first of all, if we're trying to get it to go in nice and straight. It's like I say, it's a bit of a hit and miss affair, and you don't want them going off into a different angle. You want them to go in as clean as possible. Because of the fact they're threaded, they never go 100% perfectly straight. They always try to tilt a little bit, but it's not too bad. And it's sort of, you can feel how it's going in. It's quite nice. And I say, with a bit of wood glue on there as well, that makes a really tight bond. Again, it doesn't matter if that's gone a little low, the bolts will still bite nicely onto it. So I'm going to do the scary one next, which is the one that's parked up next to this other one. So we'll get that scary thing out of the way first of all. And if we can do that okay, then we're on to the easy one. Now these inserts are made of zinc alloy, like the cheap bridge is made of. But they handle all the load you put into them perfectly well. In fact, you don't want them any harder than that. Some people like to use stainless steel, but you don't need anything more than zinc alloy. Okay, so this feels like it's going in just perfectly, just at the limit of its sort of turnability, and there's no risk of split or anything. It's sitting nicely. And then we go for the fourth and last one in its nice hole over here. And then we have one of the most important component parts of this whole thing done, and it seems it is quite heavy duty and not overkill exactly, but you know, we've really gone to town in terms of making a solid joint, but I really like it, and that's how I prefer to do it. You can see when there's a lot of load on the drive part of this threaded insert, you can see it begins to flex as you drive it in, and it wants to, you know, if you had to go any harder, there's a risk you could split it, and you can get them out. Tends to crack them. Now this is the fun part. Oh well, let's do something first. Since we've just put those in and it's all sticking up a little bit, let's get the sandpaper and a flat surface, and let's just take down anything that's sticking up in the way, including any sort of bits of the zinc alloy that's sticking up. It doesn't matter, we'll just take that flat as well, so we've got a perfectly smooth surface to mate up with the inside of the neck heel. Now we don't want to take a ton off, obviously, keep it to a minimum amount, but You can see it's nice and smooth. I've taken off any outstanding bits. There's a bit of shiny metal where I've taken it down, but that's absolutely cool. Now here's the fun bit. We put these two components together and we put in our whatchamacallits, and we get the right hex key for it, which is not that one, it's a 5mm one, which is, drop one on the floor, that's good. It's not that one either, that's the Mexico one. Right, so push it back into the position I had it before and let it bite. There we go. First one biting. Now what I will do a bit later on, I'll put some grease on these. Now these aren't going to go a massive distance into the threaded insert. They're not going to stick in miles. I'll push that one straight in, get it to bite first. There you go. Yeah, they're not going to go miles in. I can get longer ones. 30. This is 30mm. We could go 35mm and we get a bigger distance in there, but it's not critical because you can see these now will work their way in nice and smoothly. By the time we sand back this curve here and this slope, we may find that these stick out quite a bit anyway. So there, I'm going to just do these up. Ooh, nice and squeaky. I'm not going to load them so much that they're going to try and pull the threaded inserts back out or anything like that. It's just up snug to allow them to dry. And there we have the beautifully fitted neck bolt. Ooh, that's taken longer. How long has that taken? 31 minutes. Well, okay, so I think we'll call it quits. That's all I wanted to do on that part of it anyway. And then this is ready for us to kind of check the position of the bridge and everything. And it may be slightly off the center line, but I prefer to go off what the neck is telling me first and foremost, rather than what the drawing on there says. So this is going to be a hard tail, and so I'm going to end up fitting tuning pegs in here and stretching strings and the hardtail down here until it's sitting exactly where I want it to sit, and then I'll mark the bridge position. Do it that way because everything else can move to work. This is the critical bit now, and we've committed to this really nice solid neck socket. The only slight down thing, mismatch between, if at all, between this guitar and this neck and the template, as you can see here, we've got a little bit of overhang here, but it's actually not a problem. And by the time we take this smooth, the line, our cut back line, is going to sort of come down to about here anyway. So from here ish down to here, so that bit's going to be rounded off to meet this curve here, so you won't really notice it, and this is going to be now changed as well to meet the curve. So I'll put that through the bandsaw, cut that back, and then we'll draw around it there, and we'll shape this neck to fit at the same time as we'll put that bit in the bandsaw and get our Stratocaster headstock out of it. So there you go, there's a short one from me. I hope you enjoyed it. That is a rock solid neck joint now, and I can take pride of hanging it up there and go, wow, it's starting to take shape. Look at that. It becomes a guitar at that point, and I haven't even refretted it or done anything, but it lives. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. See you later.